So hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Andy from Crown the Empire.
And some questions to say about their new album, DOGMA. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to it so far?
Oh, so good. It's like nerve-wracking every time, but this is the best received record since the very first one. So it's like, it feels so good. It's been 10 years now that we've been a band, and it's best case scenario, I think. So.
Dude, the record is incredible. It's one of my favorites this year, and we're only halfway through the year.
Yep. Yeah, this record has single-handedly made me the most annoying person on earth, so I just want to thank you for that. It's an immaculate record.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Of course. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yeah, Dogma, the whole record, we've done a lot of concept records before with like narrative stuff built in, and this one didn't really feel like a concept record. Like, it didn't all tie together, but it had the same, I don't know, kind of like existential like crisis kind of going on with it. And it came about from when COVID hit. My roommate at the time, he's in the band Palais Royale, was like, yo, this record label like exec is letting me live at this house. Like, we have an extra room if you want to come stay. I was sure, and I went in there, and it's like this old 1920s looking, one of the first houses built in the hill. It was like entirely too nice for like the scummy, sketchy like band guys to live there, but it was so nice. And there was this giant mural on the wall of some like Renaissance, like Greek gods on the wall, and he ended up moving out within the first month being there, because him and his girlfriend at the time broke up. So he was staying at a friend's garage, and it was just me and her living in this house. So I just, to be like nice, I was just always like kind of out of the way in the living room, and I stared at this painting for the entire COVID, like all of COVID, while the record's coming together, and it had like this religious, I don't know, it was just the headspace I was at, being at like this top of this like glorious like castle kind of house, and feeling kind of like stuck there, and also like it wasn't my house. Like, there was a day I was writing something, like playing on the guitar, like super quiet downstairs, and she comes downstairs like, hey, can you play a different song? I was like, oh my God. I was like, first of all, why are you sitting in silence, just dead silence upstairs? And also, that's humiliating. So I don't know, it all kind of tied in with this mural, and every feeling and emotion and everything kind of tied in with that. And so it kind of made sense that like it felt like this I don't know, a holy fear of everything, fear of Lord, fear of meaning, and I don't know, a big kind of growing up phase and turning of like a chapter for me.
Okay, so this mural kind of set the tone for the entire record. Okay,
definitely.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Damn.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
We this one was kind of all over the place, and we had a lot of demos come together. Worked with our producer, KJ, and his name's Josh Strock. KJ and Zach Jones are some of the most incredible musicians I've ever worked with. We've always been a band that wasn't specifically like the most metalcore. It was definitely our base for everything, but we always had like ballads. We had more alt rocky songs and like some pop stuff, some industrial. We always just kind of push it. And with this one, you can kind of tell there's so many different flavors and so many different looks and vibes. It feels like a genreless thing, because over the course of COVID, there were so many different things happening. It felt more patient, if that made sense. Like our first record, The Fallout, we had 1 month to write and record the whole thing from beginning to end.
God
What
damn.
the fuck?
Isn't that crazy?
That's wild.
Isn't that wild? Like it's incredible what you can pull out under pressure. But I think with this one, it definitely felt like more of a slow burn, and to really take the time and really have the time to refine the songs and really understand what we wanted out of them. It had a lot more time to to sit with them and to think, and it didn't feel like the pressure was on. So yeah, we would come at it with riffs, with with a lyric, with anything like that, and just kind of took our time with it.
All right.
I really wanted to make it special.
Makes sense. And I want to touch on Superstar for a minute, because it's such an interesting song. It's unlike anything that you guys have done before, and it's like the song that you guys are pushing the hardest right now, like with it being the focus track of the record and everything. So I'm very curious as to how that came about, and like why that's the one that you guys are gunning for so hard. Like it's a great song, don't get me wrong, one of my favorites off the record. It's just so interesting that a metalcore band is like pushing for that song,
Yeah, it's funny, and I didn't, it stuck out like a sore thumb as soon as we had like the instrumentals done. We're like, this is super special feeling. And even without here's the thing is, with metalcore bands, like there was like a phase where everybody wanted to do like active rock singles, like this is our FM radio entry type of thing. But you don't have to be like an expert in music to know when something doesn't feel genuine. Like people trying to chase the dragon and like making music to try and get these plugs isn't the way to approach it. And the fans will decide for themselves if it feels real and if it feels right. And with this song, we're like, this sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's so unique that we at least have to follow through with it, and definitely not put it out as the first single. Get like have it in there. And it was also the first time me and Remington, who was the roommate from Palais, had ever worked together, and they recorded the record during COVID in the same in the house. So we were kind of creatively just around each other the entire time, and we were like, why don't we make this happen? But yeah, it felt super unique, and it's on Spotify like pretty naturally rising to the top. All the singles have been out for a while, but since the record dropped, like the things that you take the biggest risks on, like that and Dogma, I think, are number 1 and number 2. And it's so bizarre that like we make the songs that like people, we like to stay in our wheelhouse, let's do what we do hard, and then every once in a while you have like a little shooting star moment, and those are the things that people kind of gravitates to. So I don't, it felt special. It didn't feel fake. It's completely disconnected from the record, but it's just, I don't know, one of those magical little moments that we had to keep. It was too cool to not.
Fair enough. And like a song like that doing so well for you guys is like just proof that your fans do not give a fuck what you do.
I'm
they
like, what do y'all want?
anything.
I was like, dude, I put we made so many medals. I was like, y'all aren't even listening to that as much. I think the third most streamed one from the record is like Paranoid or something, which is fully a pop punk, like
exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, y'all don't even know what you want. Like, I feel like it's like Drake, where like there's hype Drake and there's like in my feelings Drake, and people will always complain. Like, he's so good at both, and being versatile is a gift, but there's always going to be someone who's like, should have been hype, or like should have been, so I think we just had to throw that out and just create for the sake of creating. And if it feels like us, and it feels like us.
That's fair enough.
100%. And earlier you actually spoke about just the album kind of covering so many different genres. And I kind of wanted to talk about Dancing with the Dead for a second, because it is your first song with like no clean vocals. Yeah. So when putting that out, because it was a single, was there any anxiety kind of going through that? Because I mean, your voice is crazy. So it's like, without putting it out with your singing voice, like, were you nervous?
Definitely. I mean, I think the basis of like when we first started, like in high school, a Mice and Men's record had just come out, Attack Attacks, self-titled had just come out, like Icy Stars is like 3D and all that stuff was all like popping, like and I love that shit. I love like ass kicking, like aggressive as hell, no, just all feeling. I was definitely we always wanted to do it. I think we always knew we weren't going to out heavy the bands that we were playing with. Like, there's no, like, we went on tour with Slipknot. I was like, listen, there's no point in me trying to be like, what's up, motherfucker? Like, I'm not going to win that game.
Yeah.
So I think it just further solidified, just do it and really believe in what you're doing. And playing that song live was incredible, especially in front of Slipknot fans being like, I don't know, this could get, like, I'm gonna get hit with bottles, like this is it. And they were so receptive to it, and it came super like naturally, not supernatural like a ghost, but yeah, it came supernatural. And Tree, our bass player, did a lot of the screaming on that too. He's got like a super deep, like he sounds like a Xerxes or some like, you know, like some Egyptian prince or something. It's so like powerful. And so having him step up and do that stuff really helped drive it home. And that song was influenced by like Huya. And so like it was, I don't know, it just felt like having, again, doing something not to be the heaviest, but to do it in our own way and showing that we can hang on the pop punk anthem like just as much as we could, you know, write an ass kicker.
That makes
Hell
sense.
yeah.
All right. So what song off the album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Ooh, the longest one to write is with someone else. We had the instrumental towards the end of the last record, and it felt really cool. And we kind of had like the scratch melodies there, like how it was gonna go. But me and our producer at that time, Drew Falk, we just couldn't nail it down, and we didn't want to mess it up just by finishing it for the sake of finishing it, throwing it on until it felt right. So that was the only song on this record that we had already had kind of locked away. And it, once we were in the groove and this was well, like we had a bunch of songs under our belt, that one came together within like 30 minutes.
Shit.
All of it, like chorus, everything felt right. Like you just catch a wave and everyone in the room will like, you'll start singing something and you can't fake the feeling of like someone at the desk, everybody's looking at the computer and people go like that. That moment you can't fake. Like people will like, you'll show them stuff and they're like bobbing their head with it, but there's something so genuine about that moment. And when we hit that chorus, everybody was like, that's it. That's it. Record it in your phone right now before you forget.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, so that one definitely took like 2 years and before we picked it back up, and it ended up being one of my favorites. But my personal favorite would be probably Paranoid. I think that's the most cathartic, and it was a similar situation where we were in the studio and I was like, what if it went like this? And they're like, ooh, that's cool. Do that. Write it. Boom. And then within an hour, the song was finished from beginning to end. We were stuck at the next part. We're like, where should it go? And I just, you know, it was like sun, and then it was like that country, like I'm away was, I don't know, like we're like weird. It's weird that you went with like a country thing, but it just also made sense and felt right. And it's the most down to earth lyrically. You know, there's like a lot of stuff that's like very like doom and gloom, like super convoluted, and you know, we had done that with a lot of our older stuff, and you kind of lose people. And I think just keeping it as straightforward and as honest is just finally saying it felt like I could finally, like, I was like, oh, I can fucking breathe, you know? And that was a really exciting moment for me. And getting like, you know, told by a producer at that point, Zach was like, you could like, you're like good. You know, he's like, I'm not lying. I'm not bullshitting you. Like, and I trust their opinions well enough. Like people are like, cool, that's great. You know, it's like, go ahead and lay that down versus like, you impressed the hell out of me. And getting that from the band after 10 years of like, you know, you start to see like, oh damn, these are experiences, like real experience. Like I'm a wise man, like, you know, I have to tell, like, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing all the time, every time we go into the studio, but you know, it's those moments where you're like, oh damn, I kind of have been doing this for a while. Moments that song had with us.
Okay. And you know, when we're talking about the rollout, it took a minute. Like it was almost 2 years. What was kind of the holdup there? Was it like the record kind of rolling out but not being done, or like, because I saw you guys with Atreyu, the first 2 songs are out, I was like, oh, the album's got to hit early next year, and then it was like we're in 2023 and now we're chatting about it, you know?
Dude, I know. It's crazy to think about it being 2 years. Yeah, the COVID, like trying to put stuff out towards the tail end of that was a disaster. And then, I mean, the name of the game is hurry up and wait in everything that you do. Like we had it planned. It kept getting pushed back like 6 months at a time. And even like there was an issue where they're like, hey, we got to push the record back. Like, why? And like Taylor Swift took all the vinyls. And we're like, what?
God damn it, Taylor.
Like, no shit. The only major vinyl company, they're backed up for her millions of vinyl sales. And I was like, damn, like, I was like, is it really that like much? Like, I'm so anxious. I want to put it out. Like people are waiting. And they're like, no, this is how it works, and we sold out of the vinyl. So I was like, damn, okay, I guess all of these things have a reason and a purpose, but I hate it. If I could just drop stuff all the time, and we talked about that, like the people will do hip hop will just drop a single without really even having to say anything. Like one Friday and then the next Friday just have another one. Wait a month, I think that's gonna be the future of making music, because I hate waiting years to just sit on these songs. But yeah, there was always something in the way to slow it down, and I'm just happy to get it out too. So
fair enough. I'm just, I know that you guys are sitting on it for a minute, and I know itching to get it out, but I'm glad that like whoever it was, whether it was you guys at the label, pumped the brakes and like didn't drip the entire record out, because like that's just as disappointing as having to wait 2 years from the first single.
So, I know. But I think that's what it's gonna be, because it's like still 5 songs on the record. Like, sorry, our album's only 5 songs you haven't heard. It's gotta be. I get it. I get the frustration, and I would love to put out singles frequently, and change that whole process.
Fair enough.
So actually going back to favorites, I wanted to mention that my favorite is actually Superstar. And it wasn't when it first came out, surprisingly, but actually I saw a video, I believe it was Brandon who posted it, where he kind of showed that Superstar originally did not have Remington on it. You guys already had like a verse for it and everything. When did Remington kind of get involved in that, and why did you guys pick that song?
Oh, that's a good one. We brought Remington in. Well, he's my roommate, and they worked on their record, and he was like, hey, listen, the record label's paying our rent because we're recording at the house. You can stay at the house for like 6 months of COVID. And I was like, I owe you my life, dude. Like, we didn't come to a halt. Like, I was like, what am I gonna, so, and also being there, I sang on their record. I did like backing vocals and stuff like that. Like, being together with someone locked into a house creatively is like a super, like, we were close friends, but like now I'm like, I get you. Like, we understand each other fundamentally, and musically just being like, why don't we do this? Like, hey, what do you think about this song? I think this is so cool. And yeah, he was stoked to do it. I was like, it'd be really awesome. It felt like the grass is always greener type of situation, where when we had first toured together, like on Warped or something, they looked at us and like, you guys are so heavy. Like, it's so cool. Like, we wish we all it's so soft and like, whatever. And over there, I was like, bro, you guys have like insane fans. Like, people are sobbing and crying. Like, I was like, I could trade 20% of my heaviness for 20% of the craziness that you guys have would be great. So it made sense for us to do it. And we watched the movie Rock and Rolla. It's a Guy Ritchie movie, like this British, about this like rock star who's his dad's a mafia boss, and he steals like this painting, and everybody, like, it's this whole, all of these different characters, this whole web of events. And there's this really cool monologue where he's talking about, like, why don't you just give the painting back? And he's like, he compares it. He's like playing the piano, and he has a monologue about a pack of cigarettes, and he's like, on the outside of the box is like this gorgeous regal, telling you that they're your little friends and that you can be with them forever. And then on the label was like the no smoking and like big boring black letters. Nobody wants that. It's like the real value is the fucking and that's where I'm pretty sure a lot of the lyrics from his part are from that movie.
Wow.
And it just felt, it just felt right, and he crushed it.
Makes
100%.
sense.
And then I also wanted to highlight your other song that you have a feature on with Courtney from Spirit Box. Was she completely involved with the writing on that, or was it kind of like a Remington situation as well? Obviously not the living together part, but
yeah. No, with Courtney, Spirit Box had just dropped their stuff. We had everything already written. I think it was just all my stuff kind of tracked on there, and we sent it to him. Like, would you be down to do it? We know that like everybody loves you guys right now and everything. And I think our label Sean probably put in a good word, but she jumped on it, and she crushed it. And it was cool to do, a feature like, okay, let's have her sing, but I was like, no, let's have her scream too.
Yup.
Like, I was like, if we're gonna have her, we gotta do both. We gotta just let her do it. And she crushed it. The music video she had to record, I think she was in Canada or something at the time, and had someone else shoot the part, and then but it perfectly fit into our video. Like, it was awesome. And we run into each other since, and every time she sees me, she goes, and then like puts the, I'm like, give me a hug. I fucking love you, bro. She's like, you're so sweet. I love them. They're crushing, and super stoked that Courtney hopped on with us.
Hell yeah.
100%. Fuck yeah. So I want you to tell us your favorite lyric off this album and what it means to you.
Oh, I think one of the ones from Paranoid where I said something, and it's not even that clever, but it just felt really real. It was, I spend all my time even though I can't afford it. I think a lot of the time, pre-COVID, pre this record, I felt like being signed at like 16 and going on tour, like I felt you get lost in the sauce, and I really felt like I had all the time in the world. Like we're gonna stay young forever, like it felt very much like naive, and I was so happy to live my life making music and just hitting the road. And I think when touring went away, having to sit and be like, oh, what am I outside of this? There's so many important parts of myself that I had neglected and was essentially forced to work through and to look at, and I felt like for the longest time it was like, this is fine, with like the fire behind me,
Yeah.
It was only like, how long will it take until I'm like fully cooked? And I think that was just a little thing with myself. And it was just a little line, but I think time has forever been more valuable to me. I never wish that I was anywhere else anymore. I never, I get anxious and stuff, but I don't know. I try and stay more grounded and more present and not be, I don't know, so dumb and wild.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like kind of getting the chance to kind of finally stay home, since you've been doing the whole touring thing since being 16, like kind of gave you a chance to ground yourself and like kind of be almost a real person in a sense.
Definitely. Like I felt there's nothing crazier than like going to like, because we're in LA, so I'll go to like a nice restaurant and be like the dirtiest, like I don't know, I just feel like uneasy. Like you guys are all wearing suits and I'm wearing this Slipknot hoodie and I'm sweaty and I'm hungover. Like, it was very like, yeah, I think finding like a moment of peace, being okay with being present, and doing things with like deliberate movements instead of living just because that's all is an important thing for me.
That makes sense.
That's all
right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So where was your headspace at while you were writing the album?
I was all over the place. I mean, yeah, I mean that kind of realization, like having to face those things is a super scary thing, but you have to look in the mirror and work through it, and it's super uncomfortable, but it was so cathartic and worth every second. We definitely went crazy. There's like ups and downs, and can I be this person, the person that I want to be? Is it, am I being something that someone else expects me to be this whole time? Like, do I even like this? There were so many different existential crisis moments over the course of that. And I had a tendency to isolate off of tour anyways. Like, you come off tour, you're like, okay, I have a month until the next one. Like, nobody talk to me. I'm not thinking about anything. I can coast at like at Airbnb or something so I don't have to. I'm living out of the same suitcase I was living out on tour with. There's no. It was freeing to not have to be a part of like the normal like society, like living life like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside is that like I found myself being increasingly further from reality and like kind of like crazier and crazier. So I think just this whole record was just confronting all of the different, facets and things I was kind of trying to ignore for a long time, but definitely ended up ending up in a better place for sure.
I'm glad you're in a better place.
Yes.
Thanks.
So are you able to tell us how the track list for this album came about? Did you guys write the opener be an opener, closer be a closer, shuffle around, see what fits? What was that process like?
We had everybody had submitted their own, everybody in the band gets to listen and kind of arranges it, whatever. And some of them just made sense. intro tracks for us have always been like we're gonna set the tone, we're gonna try and paint the picture for you to kind of get you on the journey and see what you're expecting. And Dogma was so out there that I wanted to put the weirdest our weirdest foot forward and then be like, oh, this is so interesting. Like I I wonder what they have going on next. I think that was the only universal thing we all agreed on with that. But everything else was just, I felt just like politics, like, okay, but this makes sense out here. Like, you can't put two heavy songs next to each other. It doesn't, like, it was just a bunch of those conversations, really. And the one that we landed on just kind of felt like, a little bit of this, a little, taking on a little journey, and it felt right.
All right, that makes sense. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, dark with headphones on, workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Ooh, I feel like a drive with two homies ready to feel emotions.
All right.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Continue.
Oh, no. It was stupid.
Oh, no. Okay.
I was gonna say, like, you can scream the parts at each other, and then you could cry for the sad part. It's good to have someone. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
Manic.
Okay.
Anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious.
Okay.
Do you want to expand on the last one, or you just want to leave it?
I'll leave that out there. I'll let you guys interpret.
All right. Cool.
All right. So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
No, I mean, just soak it in, enjoy it, whatever it makes you feel, whatever. There are so many. Going on tour and having people come to me like, yo, this song made me feel like this. And I was like, oh, that's completely different than what I thought. I don't want to like tell you guys or anything or try and lead your hand. Whatever it is whatever it is. I think that's all that.
That's fair enough.
Sounds good. So are you able to talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments from the creation of this album, positive or negative?
Oh yeah. This was a crazy one. When we did In Another Life, there was a particular. I had thought I fully lost my mind at this point. So the house, like I said, was built in like one of the first houses on the hill. It was like before 1920, and I was sitting there downstairs, and from the couch you can see like a staircase, and it kind of goes up, and then angles, and then angles. So you see like a glimpse of it from where you're sitting. And I was sitting there one day and I saw something on the corner of my eye, and I looked, and it was little feet, like bare feet running up the stairs. And I thought, your brain will just like fill in the blank with like movements and stuff. But I looked fast enough to distinctly see 2 feet and a little white dress.
Fuck that.
And I was like, it had processed with me, and I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep watching TV and pretend like I didn't see it. But it freaked me out so much that I looked it up, and there was an actress from the 1920s who lived in the house, and she had a baby super young, and I guess owned the house and said that like it was like her happy place, and had owned another place down the street. But I guess it struggled with like the Hollywood nightlife at that point, and had, back then they were like, oh, you're sad, like here's heroin from the doctor, like
damn. Yeah.
They were chill with that. I don't know. It was not, I don't know. I think feeling alone and, being lost in the hustle and bustle and having those kinds of moments. There's like a photo of her. I can't remember her name, but there's like a photo of her by a fireplace. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the house. And I've never been, just to clarify, like I've never had any experience, go see whatsoever. Like I'm very much like a skeptic with it and stuff like that. I've never had any other moment, but it's the only thing in my life that I've ever had. I've never been able to explain it. And I can picture it now so vividly. But so the song In Another Life came about where at the same time I was like going through like a failing relationship, and my friend Alex Biro was talking to me, and he'd come up with in another life, he said, I would have built up my walls around you, lived to hold you. And he was like, it's crazy how a relationship can feel like a home, or building a walls around someone could feel like a prison. And I think at that point I was stuck in the house, and I didn't have a game plan. I didn't know when we were going to be back on the road. I didn't know any of this stuff. And having that, I don't know, little connection with someone else that from, a time before that was going through something similar, and then seeing that thing was like such a freaky, weird moment. But that's how that song came together, and it felt really cool.
Damn, that
Wow.
is crazy.
So how did you continue like living in that house after seeing that? Because I would have been like out the door.
Well, I never felt like there wasn't like things shaking. There wasn't anything fucking with me, like I was like a little nervous, and it was only, and I kind of told my friends, and then we have a couple people over, and my producer, we were in the kitchen, my producer came in and was like, yo, I just saw someone come around, because you see the top of the stairs, like them walking, and then it turns the corner and there's a front door. And then they have to come down the extra little steps to come like right in front of you. So he said, I saw footsteps coming down, and I turned and I got up to say what's up because I thought it was Remington, and no one turned the corner.
Oh.
And I was like, what was she wearing? And he was like a white dress, and I was like,
fuck that, no.
I'm out.
Absolutely not.
I'm out. That was the only time that those are the only two moments that happened the entire 2 years that I was there, but it was still like at a very much strange and bizarre time.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for this question, we want to picture you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Ooh. You know what I just discovered? I think maybe just because I was trying to stay healthy, that I was seeing anything with like protein in it, and I'm like, that must be healthy. There's like a Pop-Tart. They're doing like protein Pop-Tarts.
What?
Yeah.
That
Gas
sounds
station
wild.
protein Pop-Tarts, and they're pretty consistent. Like, I don't know. I would go and I get a little gas station coffee, a little Flying J like guy, and then a protein Pop-Tart, and I'll eat that.
Okay.
What the hell? Okay, so I'm in that era where it's like, oh, protein, healthy, fuck yeah. So
Yeah.
what flavor is it?
They had a bunch, but the one I went with was with like the cinnamon and brown sugar.
Oh my god! So it's like the regular flavors, but just with protein.
Yeah, hell yeah,
That's the best decision they could have ever made. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Hell yeah, I love that.
Love it.
I wish I remembered the brand. We should get sponsored.
No, for real.
Yeah.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Ooh, probably something like squid ink pasta or something you look at them, you're like, I don't know about these guys, and then you try, you're like, oh, this is actually different, but I like it. That one, like kind of sketchy but still delicious.
Hell yeah. All right. Sounds good.
You had the delicious back in. That was beautiful. Seamless.
It's all coming together. So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh, I would drink a whiskey sour.
Okay.
I'm a big whiskey guy. We get a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of tequila on the rider every day.
God damn.
Damn.
I know. It's probably that's good. I like it. Just to show you guys, I really do like whiskey. And then I would have probably something like a steak sandwich or something. Maybe like on a ciabatta with like arugula or something, and then on the side like some mashed potatoes.
Damn.
Nice.
Right?
That's it.
I'm good about that.
That sounds delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you can live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Oh, dang. I would, I don't know. I was going to say something like medieval, but then I'm like, you gotta, you're pooping in outhouses and stuff. I think probably something sci-fi, I think maybe like a fun one would be, maybe like I'm gonna be basic. I'm gonna say Star Wars. It would be so cool.
sure.
Seeing the star thing, going into hyperspace. I think it would be cool. I basically live in a. I mean, a tour bus is just like a craft carrying a bunch of people, from port to port.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of already doing that. So that, but like in space.
Yeah, so you're basically already a Jedi.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
My only power is being sad.
So I thought of asking the last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said this is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Ooh, blue, but like this kind of blue, like a pale blue.
All right.
Dusty, yeah.
That's not black. Obviously, black comes first, but
All right.
hell yeah,
sounds good.
Perfect.
Thank you. Hell yeah.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
No, check out the record. We have some things, some coals in the fire, or whatever that expression is, for
Irons
tours
in the
and
fire.
stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, irons in the fire. Thank you.
There you go.
For tours and stuff. So be on the lookout and check us out whenever we come through.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you for Sal. It's been Andy from Crown the Empire, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.